Hello everyone, I'm Karina Silva from Elements Marketing Team, and today I'm going to share with you some tips to improve your virtual communication using, of course, the Atlassian tools. Why do you think that avoiding communication problems is important? I recently found a quote in Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers that retained my attention. And it's the perfect example to highlight the importance of having an effective communication in your company. In his book, Gladwell reviewed data from several airline accidents and said the kinds of errors that cause plane crashes are invariably errors of teamwork and communication. And that's why today I want to share with you the most common symptoms and the top 5 communication problems that companies face. But most importantly, how to solve them by using, of course, your Atlassian tools. So, let's start with the symptoms. First of all, I want to imagine your marketing team, your business teams, and your developer teams. And let me know if this sounds familiar. Do you see them working in silos? Having teams working in silos is the most common symptom, and this may lead to many communication problems that can affect the entire business. In North America specifically, collaboration and communication silos cost about 7 hours per week. That's totaling about 350 hours per year. Another less known symptom are the cultural and generational gaps. And technology and remote working have made them both more common than before. I will show you later on this presentation the Lewis model, which visually explains more about the cultural gaps and how to solve these kind of gaps. Another common symptom is the communication gaps. They can result from misinterpretations, late communications, poorly worded communications, but the thing is that it can cause us misunderstandings, conflicts, but even stress, burnout, and high employee turnover. And the last symptom I'm sharing with you today is the duplicate task. In one study of American workers, employees were found to waste nearly 6 hours per week duplicating others' work. And why does this happen, you may ask? Well, it can come from receiving information a little bit late or not fast enough, or not having access to previous employees' work. All the previous symptoms are often, if not always, related to communication problems. And since communication plays an integral role in the success of an organization, solving these problems is key to the success of your business. And since many of the problems are only more relevant when working remotely, we really need to pay attention to this. But you are maybe already aware of that. Are you curious about the top 5 problems companies face? Maybe you already have some in mind. Let's see if you guess right. Problem number 1, having different perspectives. And who hasn't experienced this? Both are right and both are wrong at the same time. It's just a matter of perspective, but sometimes it's also due to assumptions or misinterpretations. But while it's important to have different perspectives in a team, it's also very important to be sure that we're getting the perspective of others and also sharing clearly our own perspective. Problem number 2, having unclear goals. And I bet everyone in the audience has seen this picture. If the goal is unclear for every team in the company, then most probably the customer will pay the consequences. And obviously your business too. Problem number 3, who's the owner? And the thing is that the lack of clear roles can create a very ineffective working environment. Having the someone else will do it can create a very finger-pointing culture where there is not one person that is responsible for completing a task, making everyone unaware of what their objective in each project is. Problem number 4, the unasked questions. And have you heard the phrase, there is not such thing as a stupid question? Having people from your team pretending they already know something is by far more dangerous than having them asking, even silly, questions. And the problem number 5 is the short deadlines. And who hasn't experienced a short deadline? Of course, everyone has been there, done that. And being forced to commit to crazy timelines with little time to think, little time to give or receive feedback and talk with other team members, it's obviously a very important communication problem. Now, I want you to stop and think about your company. Have you any of these symptoms? Or are you already experiencing communication problems? If this is the case, don't worry, you're certainly not alone. Overlooking internal communication is way more frequent than we imagine. The good news is that even if it may seem even more challenging during this remote or hybrid working era, we also have more robust tools to help us improve communication and collaboration. But how exactly will this help the bottom line, Karina? I can almost hear you asking me this question. Well, an effective communication between departments results in achieving a goal while improving productivity and team spirit, and ultimately, of course, business growth. Is this different if you're working on site, hybrid, or remote, Karina? Well, have you heard about the out of sight, out of mind principle? Quite often, the greater the distance between teams or departments, the greater the communication barriers are. And to overcome this distance barrier, you must emphasize the value of consistent and timely communication and work to establish relationship between different business locations. And remember, document everything. Think of it as a replacement of the coffee pause. And now let's see how tools can actually help. So I have good news for you. Let me show you 4 examples to help you overcome these barriers and foster effective communication within your team and also between different teams in your company. You certainly have the tools to make this happen. First of all, a very human tool. Get to know and understand your team. You need to understand that within a team there are different differences between every member, and they can be like their cultural type, their communication mode, their best times to communicate, to work, to interact. As I told you before, this is the Lewis model that I said that I would share at the beginning. And here you can see the cultural differences or gaps that teammates face. Lewis divided humans into 3 clear categories based not on nationality or religion, but on behavior. And while the 3 types are distinctive, each possesses behavioral elements from the other 2 categories as well. It is a question of which one is the dominant, and it's often related to the role within their team. So it's good for you to map each member on their cultural type within this Lewis model. And of course, if you already know that communicating with a, let's say, Mexican team is radically different than communicating with the German team, then you are already on the right path. Another important human tool is to understand their communication style. You can use frameworks like this, that is called DISC, which measure your personality and behavioral style. It does not measure intelligence, aptitude, or mental health, or even values. The DISC profile describes human behavior in various situations. For example, how do you respond to challenges? or how do you influence others, or which is your preferred pace, and how do you react to rules or procedures. But most importantly, this will help you know, or it gives you tips on how to approach someone in your team, and also what to avoid depending on their communication style. So no more cultural gaps, no more communication gaps. Now, let's talk about the tech tools, more specifically, the Atlassian tools. They are so powerful and sometimes we don't exploit them enough. I will share with you the story of our own marketing team and how we started to use Jira and Confluence together to break the silos and, most importantly, define the goals and the roles from the very beginning. As you can see in this video, we have different marketing projects on our Kanban board. We'll use the example of events. We add all the information that needs to be shared with other teams, like the dates, the sponsorship decided, and most importantly, the roles. Who's the owner, who's the reporter, who are the stakeholders, etc. Whenever we start a new project, we move it, and using our Publish app, we automatically publish a page in Confluence using a kickoff template. This allows the marketing team to inform other teams from the company that we are launching a project and all the relevant information about it. Defining clear goals and roles for every project and from the very beginning has helped us more than you can even imagine. Once we have the kickoff page created, we conduct the kickoff session inspired by the Atlassian playbook guides. Defining clear goals and roles from the very beginning has helped us set our projects for success. And we are not the only company doing this. In the Work-Life blog by Atlassian, I read that teams like Sprout Social have leveraged the Atlassian playbook to help their teams overcome communication problems related to working remotely. So I invite you to take a look on the blog, the Atlassian team playbook, and of course to check all the different possibilities that you have connecting your Jira and Confluence together. And this way, no more who's the owner, no more perspective problems, and no more unclear goals. Now, remember that we talk about communication barriers, distance, and so on? Well, we have experienced firsthand that using Jira as an information hub breaks those barriers. It has helped us foster effective communication between teams no matter where they are located, successful implementation of strategic planning, and avoiding, of course, error and double tasks, saving us a lot of time. Back to our marketing team again. The event kickoff was successful and everyone knows their role in the project. Now let's imagine that PM72 was an in-person event. We need to bring a roll-up and some swags, and this is managed by the events and logistic team. We would only need to request the material from their GSM, and with the connected items that we see here, we can know what kind of material we have for the product that we will be showcasing during the event. So we select the roll-up size, we select the swag bags that we will bring. In this case, we are choosing the premium, and we send our request. Our request will be sent to the corresponding person from the events and logistic team, and we can see that we have all the connected items that are related to the product that we will be showcasing. Do we have a change of minds and we are showcasing another project? No problem. We can change all the material that we are bringing, and we are sure that we are aligned between the stock that is provided, between the teams that will be providing us with all the material that we have to send to the event. And now imagine how would this be if we were doing every request by email? Yes, a lot of communication problems that we were having was because we were not aligned on the kind of material that we were bringing or the products, or we were even finding that different persons were working on the same task. So using Jira as our information hub has allowed us to follow up on the status of our request, have a single source of truth, also to break out silos, and most importantly, to streamline our workflows, no matter the team that we belong to. So no more working in silos, no more duplicate tasks, and no more unrealistic deadlines. Another important tool that I want to share with you today and that is a very important part of the effective communication recipe, is to encourage questions and feedback. And this feature is one of the things that I really love about the Atlassian tools, is that you can ask or give feedback in line. And it's almost like having the person right next to you asking a question about something that maybe is not very clear for that part of the text or for the project or for the goal or for whatever reason. You can highlight your questions or give your feedback. And really, if you haven't used this functionality yet, I invite you to start using it, even more if you work with asynchronous or remote teams. So no more unasked questions. And this is almost the end of the presentation, but before we head to the after party, I would like to recap what we learned today. You see here in yellow all the symptoms, and in blue the top 5 communication problems. And of course, we shared all the solutions to get to know and understand your team, to end up with communication gaps, different perspectives, cultural and generational gaps. And then setting clear goals and roles from the very beginning, to fight the unclear goals and roles, and to know who's the owner, of course. Using Jira as an information hub to avoid duplicate tasks, short deadlines, and working in silos. And last but not least, to encourage questions and feedback. And no more unasked questions. All of this, of course, to have an effective communication in your company, setting up your business for success. And this is now the end of the presentation. Come meet us at the after party that we are holding. We will be in the nice taco food truck. And please come to see us and talk more about all the communication problems that you already face or not. What are the symptoms in your company? I'm very curious to know how it is in your companies, and to share together some tips and tricks to overcome these problems. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a nice evening.